Hello friends, and thanks for checking out the third and final video in our mini-train mini-series on professional email etiquette. In this video, we'll touch on the content of your email. What should you include? What should you leave out? When thinking about the actual content of your email, think about answering that classic set of questions: who, what, when, where, why, and let's throw in how. You want your email to be complete in the information it provides, but don't go overboard. You want sufficient detail, but don't over-explain. The best piece of advice you can take when it comes to writing an effective email that gets a response is keep it short. This will save time for both you and the recipient and is far more likely to actually get you a response if one is needed. Longer emails tend to go unanswered. People open it and think, oh, I don't have time for this, and they close it to get to later. If people can see the end of an email when they open it up, they're more likely to read it. As a guideline, try to fit the full message in the preview pane. Avoid long sentences. Also, try to get to the point quickly and don't lose focus on the topic at hand. Start with the most important info first. Why are you emailing? What do they need to know or respond to? The request for action or information should be easy to read and at the top of the email. And before clicking send, ask yourself, is this helpful or necessary? If it's neither of those things, it's probably better to not send the message in the first place. If you can't contribute positively and helpfully to the conversation, then don't jump in. All that being said, you do want to make sure you have sent information in as complete a package as possible. Include all the relevant details, just don't go overboard. Too much detail is not helpful and will only serve to clutter up the message. When formatting your email, keep in mind people tend to skim emails, so give chunks of information in short paragraphs. Not like this. Group logically related points and maybe even use bullet points and white space to make it easier for the eye to move through it. White space is the areas of a page without print or pictures. For example, this is easier and more pleasant to read than this because it has more white space. If you are forwarding an email, remove any unnecessary content and summarize to the recipient why you are forwarding the email. Don't make them have to read through it to figure it out on their own. Let's move on to things that aren't helpful or necessary. There are a few things that should be completely avoided or at least limited. In the category of do not, we find profanity. I know, I've just ruined your day, but profanity is never appropriate in a professional email. And I shouldn't have to say it, but neither are insults. If you're hot enough under the collar to be insulting people in a written format that can be saved, forwarded, and then tracked back to you, then you definitely need to step away from the computer for a few minutes. Further along this spectrum is sarcasm. Now, I speak sarcasm fluently, but I'll tell you, it's definitely one of those things that really needs tone and intonation and facial expressions to come across correctly. Sarcasm in an email is just words and has a very strong chance of coming across as offensive, especially if your recipient doesn't know you that well. Emoticons or emojis are the third thing, and they kind of hang out in this gray area. It used to be that emoticons or emojis were a do not in professional correspondence. However, they've become such a huge part of the way we communicate personally, they've started to creep into the business world. Emojis are no longer always inappropriate in a business setting, but they can be seen as unprofessional. Use them wisely. And remember that what you send isn't always going to be the same thing your recipient sees, especially if they're using a different operating system. Remember, email written without regard for etiquette can give a poor impression of you and your company. Email is a very useful tool, and it's essential in modern-day business. Knowing how to communicate with proper etiquette in virtual communications is critical to maintaining a good image and relationship. It's not something you should be careless about, especially with customers and clients. Email writers have to be conscious of the message's impact, including what is said, how it's said, and even who's receiving it. That's it for this mini-train mini-series. If you have any questions or would like to contact the training team, email us at fstraining@utk.edu. And don't forget the subject line. Oh, would you quit it?